Okay, guys, so this is the final lesson before we have exams, okay? So today we're doing understanding paragraphs and conjunctions. Okay, Irina, can you actually read?
Introduction to paragraphs. Paragraphs are the building blocks of academic writing. They divide the argument into convenient sections for easy understanding. Effective reading and writing requires clarity in their use and meaning. This unit covers components of paragraphs, how components are linked together, linkage between paragraphs in the overall text, different functions of conjunctions.
Yeah, since we are taking the courses on the academic writing especially composed of different paragraphs, and to be able to have the right components in each paragraph is very important. So we're gonna actually look at what are the components that we have to put in each paragraph and how we can actually link those sentences not only within the paragraphs and between the paragraphs as well. So this is something that we're going to cover today. Let's just do a very simple exercise first. Okay, so we go to page 94, which is the first page, and it has a question on paragraph structure. So it says, read the paragraph below and answer the questions. And it has A and B. So let's get started on this. Let's have a look. So what's the topic of this paragraph?
Moving government departments.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, we can actually simplify the expression decentralizing government. Okay? And how are the sentences in the paragraph linked together?
With linking words.
Yeah, what are the linking words?
Previously.
Very good. However, now, for example. Yeah, so these are the linking words or phrases that they use. All right, let's move on. Components of a paragraph.
A paragraph is a group of sentences dealing with a single topic. Typical structure: topic sentence introduces the main idea. For example, many countries around the world are currently moving some government departments out of the capital city. Supports information, provides background or context. For example, previously there were attempts to create entirely new capitals, such as Brazil or Islamabad in Pakistan. Reason explains why. For example, now, however, these attempts are seen as too expensive, complex, and disruptive. Further detail, restatement, elaborate or rephrase. For example, instead, the great is to disperse different ministries to diverse, less crowded districts away from the capital. Examples illustrates the point. For example, Mexico, has moved its culture ministry from Mexico City to Tlaxcala, and Norway has shifted their competition authority from Oslo to Belgium.
Alright, so these are the components of a paragraph. Guys, it's very important that you remember the components. Just memorize them. So the first sentence usually starts with a topic sentence. So it introduces the main idea of a paragraph. So if you're writing about climate change, then you basically have to have one topic sentence for each paragraph, right? And it basically introduces the main idea about the topic that you are discussing in the academic writing. And then afterwards, you can actually insert some supporting information, which is usually the background or the context. So if you were to describe the phenomena of a climate change in Africa or in Asia, you basically have to provide some nice background or the nice context on the topic that you're discussing. And then the third is, after you provide the context, you provide reasons why you think so. So usually the reasons explains why you think so on the why you think so, and then it's directly linked with the topic sentence, because the topic sentence basically says about your argument. So it's just remember what components that you have to include. And then afterwards, you can include further details, restatement of the reasons that or the context that you elaborated before. So you can either elaborate on the points that you discussed previously, or you can rephrase them just to make the readers understand better about what you're writing. And then the last one usually is about the examples, and this is to illustrate your point. You put examples, and usually the paragraph has devotes much of its part to discussing the examples. So remember the components. So topic sentence, context or the background, reasons, and then you can actually explain it in more detail about the reasons that you think so, and then the examples. So if you actually remember these components, then it's very easy to actually write a paragraph. So it's actually easier to do than say. So let's do some exercise on page 95, practice A. It says, the sentence in the following paragraph from the same article on government relocation have been mixed up. Use the table to put them in the right order. So we have the table on the next page, and you basically have to put which one is the topic sentence, which one of the 5 is the topic sentence, reason, result 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's have a look. So what's the topic sentence?
Number 2. Today's sounds
Right.
people work in the same district and able to meet face to face.
Right. What about the reason?
Reason number 4. Developments such as video conferencing make
Right.
this of discover which has many important benefits more visible.
Result 1.
Number 1. One benefit of dispersal
Right.
is to improve the quality.
Right. Result 2.
Number 5. Moreover,
Yes. Yeah. Moreover is a key phrase. It's a key word. Actually, it links the result 1 and 2. Result 3 is obvious because it ends with the finally. All right. Okay. Well done. Let's move on. Okay. Key characteristics of a paragraph.
First, helps both writer and reader follow the argument more clearly by grouping related sentences. Second, stands varies by text type, but usually no less than 4 or 5 sentences. Third, often but not always starts with the topic sentence. The sentences provide definition, examples, extra information, reasons, statements, or summaries. Fourth, sentences linked by conjunctions and adverbs, for example, however, instead of for example, to guide the reader through arguments.
Right. So usually the paragraph is composed of 4 or 5 sentences for like beginner writers, but as you actually get to write longer academic writing, such as thesis, like dissertation, you actually can write more sentences within the paragraph. But then the rule of thumb is usually you include 4 or 5 sentences in a paragraph. And as I explained before, paragraph usually starts with a topic sentence, and then I didn't actually mention the definitions. So you basically can include a definition of a key term or a key topic within the paragraph as well, and other components such as like examples or extra information like context or reasons or the results and restatements. They're similar, and you basically have to memorize the key components so that you can automatically come up with what to write within the paragraphs. And we're going to learn about the conjunctions and adverbs which connect the sentences in detail later, so we'll just skip it now. So let's do the practice B on the page 96. So analyze the next paragraph from the same text by completing the left-hand column of the table with suitable descriptions. Underline the words and phrases used to link the sentences together, and which phrase is used to link this paragraph to the one before. All right? So you underline the conjunctions or the linking phrases And then you also write down what components of each sentence is. Okay, so let's have a look. So the first sentence, despite these changes, there are serious drawbacks to relocating government departments. So this is a topic sentence. What is the linking word or phrase here? Despite. Okay? And what about the second sentence? One of the gravest is that many employees, especially younger ones, are reluctant to leave lively capital cities to live in remote provincial towns. What is the component here? No linking word. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. There is no linking word. But then, what is the component of this sentence? Yes, reason. Oh, very good. The third one. In some cases, more than half the staff has resigned rather than move, fearing the loss of social life. Result? Is it? Do you think it's result? Yeah, it's an example. Yeah, it's an example. And fourth one, in addition, new locations may be chosen for political rather than economic reasons.
Additional drawbacks.
So what's the linking phrase here? In addition, what's the component here?
Additional drawbacks.
Yeah, very good. This is the fifth one. Politicians may attempt to bring jobs to their own constituencies, as when Pinochet moved Chile's Congress to his hometown, Valparaiso. What's the component?
As well.
Huh?
As well.
Answering?
As well.
Addition?
No, I think it should be a result.
Yeah, it's a result. And what's the linking phrase here?
There is no linking.
No linking phrase? Yeah, no linking phrase in here. What about the last one? So, although there are many apparent gains from relocation, putting such a move into practice can be full of problems. Yes, it's a summary. All right, so what's the linking phrase here? So, okay, well done. Okay, let's move on to the next slide.
Conjunctions are words, phrases that join parts of a sentence or link sentences, paragraphs. Examples from sample, previously, now, however, instead, for example. Functions show contrast. For example, however, add information instead, provide examples, for example, guide logical flow for clarity.
Right, so in order to link the sentences within the paragraph and in order to actually give the logical flow within the paragraphs, you have to be able to use the conjunctions very well. So these are some of the examples, but a lot more. And we're going to do some more exercises on the conjunctions, but then you can see the contrast, however or though, and if you want to add information, in addition, instead, or you can provide examples, for example, for instance, so you can use these conjunctions or the linking phrases in order to actually make a point. And so to be able to use conjunctions and linking phrases very well, it's very important for you to actually give the logical flow within your paragraph. And so that's why we need to do a lot of exercises for that. But we're going to do it in the second half of the class. So let's skip it as of now and go into introducing and linking paragraphs.
Paragraphs often start with linking phrases to maintain continuity. For example, despite disadvantages, benefits ensure a smooth flow between ideas. Categories of linking phrases, introducing a topic, often with time phrase. For example, this symposium focuses. Recent case health witnessed the rise in energy prices from 2022. B. Referring to source, for example, Dreyfus drew on this approach. Thompson is more
Equivocal?
George Sevelis, 2002, uses the concept.
Can you read on? Yeah.
Referring back to previous paragraph, often with conjunctions. For example, this qualitative gap. Nevertheless, the academic literature, yet despite this massive transformation, meanwhile the rapid expansion. D. Listing a series of points. For example, the first argument is that. Second, if terrorism is the core plank. Thirdly, they're intersubjective and communicative. E, coming to a conclusion, for example, this review article has analyzed, this paper has argued for, when we assess the implications, finally the performance of.
Right, so let's move on to page 97. This actually gives you very nice examples of linking phrases that you can actually use for different purposes, right? So let's go to page 97. So basically these slides illustrate what was written in this page, but I really want you to memorize the phrases because it's very useful. You know, like all the phrases like mentioned here, very useful. Be careful. Okay, so A, it says, you know, you can use linking phrases to introduce a topic, often with time phrases. So you can use phrases like focuses, has shown that, or shows, has witnessed, or from 2022, or since 1982. So you can use these phrases in order to show that you're introducing a topic. So you can use these phrases for topic sentences especially, okay? And second, if you want to refer to a source, I mean, you don't have to use exactly the same phrases in here, but you can actually have a look. Dreyfus and Dreyfus drew on this approach. So maybe you can say, Kim and Kang drew on this approach. Or if you go to the second sentence, it says Thompson is more equivocal. Equivocal means he's not supporting either A or B. He's just ambivalent. He's not support. He doesn't say that like A or B, which one is good or wrong, good or bad. You know. So it means equivocal. So you can use this expression. Or Georgie Sibilis 2002 uses the concept. So you can say Kim 2011 uses the concept. So just get familiar with these phrases, okay? And you can basically just have to like copy them, you know. So if you're used to these phrases, then you can employ these expressions in your writing. And C, referring back to the previous paragraph, often with a conjunction. So you can use these conjunctions in contrast, nevertheless. I mean, this basically connotes the opposite sort of point. Meanwhile, similar, yet despite, it's basically negating the previous sentence. So just get familiar with these expressions. And D, listing a series of points. You can say first, blah, 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 second, blah, 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 third, blah, blah, blah. Or you can say the first argument is that, second, and then you come up with a sentence, and third. But then if you were to use third at the beginning, you can either say third or thirdly. So get used to these expressions. And finally, if you want to make a conclusion, you can use this kind of expressions. So this article has analyzed, this article has examined, blah, 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 or this paper has argued for, or this paper has argued against, okay? Or when we assess the implications, or when we examine the results of something, and finally, I mean, you can actually use finally to connote that this is going to be the conclusion of the paragraph. So, I mean, these are very nice expressions, so just try to memorize them as much as possible. And the best way to memorize them is actually write them down in your own sentences. So you can write sentences for an essay, but you try to include those phrases in your writing. So let's do practice C. It's actually writing 2 paragraphs. It says, use the notes below to write 2 paragraphs on the subject of trans. Use conjunctions and other suitable phrases to introduce and link the paragraphs together. So you have bullet points of notes that you have to use. So you basically have to use the sentences listed in the bullet points for your writing, and in 2 paragraphs. But you guys have to use the linking phrases that were discussed before, and then also the conjunction. So basically, you have to use all these sentences to write 2 paragraphs about the trend, but try to use the phrases that were mentioned before or the conjunctions. Okay, let's get started. You can write it down in page 98. You can DM me. Oh, pardon, Sarah. Sorry. Okay, let's get started. Understanding conjunctions.
Conjunctions act as signposts in writing. They help readers follow the flow of ideas from one sentence to another. Without conjunctions, writing can feel disconnected or hard to follow. This lesson explains how conjunctions work and how to use them efficiently in academic writing.
Right, so we just actually gone over the first section on understanding the paragraphs, and then we basically go into how to use conjunctions. I mean, this is not as difficult, so we're just going to skip it very fast. How conjunctions work.
Some conjunctions link parts of a single sentence together. Example, the production of this has recently increased sharply, but the replacement of fruit crops with fuel crops has been heavily criticized. But shows contrasts between two related ideas. These conjunctions help create complex sentences with balanced logic.
Right, so there are two types of conjunction. The first type of conjunction is basically connect two sentences, but basically two, what do you call them? Not the phrases, but what's clauses. Yeah, two clauses within the one sentence, right? So because it's only one sentence here, so although we use the same but, it's still one sentence, but it actually connects to two clauses instead of two sentences. So, and then the second type is basically connecting the two sentences.
Other conjunctions connect one sentence to the next. Example, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere reduces in a fission process. Consequently, it can be seen that the situation is rather confused. Consequently, signals a logical result or conclusion. Such words strengthen the flow of argument between paragraphs or sentences.
Right, and then there are other types of conjunctions which actually connect two sentences. Okay, so consequently, this is an adverb. The adverb can only connect two sentences. Okay, we can use like other conjunctions such as however, nevertheless, on the other hand. These are all like adverbial conjunctions, and they basically connect two sentences. But so I think the types are not as important, but it just you get used to different types of conjunctions and expressions. So we're going to do some exercise which actually lists all the conjunctions that you can use, and then you basically have to be able to use them. Okay, let's do the exercise on page 100. It's quite easy. So if you go to page 100, it says underline the conjunctions in the following sentences. And also, there are 6 main types of conjunction. Match each of the types below to one of the sentences above. And read the earlier paragraphs of biofuels and decide what the function of each conjunction is. So we have 3 exercises here. Okay, let's do the exercise. Number 1, underline the conjunctions in the following sentences. A, for instance, yes. B,
Furthermore.
C,
Since.
good. D, thus. E,
Then.
then. F,
However.
right? Number 2,
D.
D, 3,
F. C.
C, 4,
F.
F, 5,
A.
A, 6,
E.
E. Alright, B, But.
Position.
opposition. C,
Although.
although opposition. D,
For instance, example.
right? E,
However, opposition.
good. F,
In other words,
yeah,
it's addition.
yeah, it's an example.
Example.
Yeah. And G, consequently,
Result.
right? H,
And addition.
very good. I,
Neither nor.
very good. Opposition. Good. Let's move on. Okay, types of conjunctions.
Conjunctions can express different relationships between ideas. Example 1. Demand for food is increasing because the population is growing. Shows reason of course. Example 2. Mechanization has increased crop yields, yet production is still inadequate. Shows position or contrast. Thus, conjunctions can indicate reason, addition, contrast, condition, time, and more.
Right, so conjunctions can mean a lot of different things. If you were to use because, then it means reason or cause, or yet, or however, or nevertheless. It means opposition or contrast. So we're going to learn about different types of conjunctions. And you basically, what is more important is that you are able to use them in your sentences, okay?
Conjunction showing reason its opposition. Reason goes because since as food demand rises because population grows. Contrast opposition, but yet older, however, mechanization increased wealth, yet hunger persists. Results effect, so therefore consequently the project failed, so they resigned it.
Right, so there are like because, since, as, and these conjunctions are used for a reason, I mean explaining the reason or cause. You can use but, yet, although to show contrast or the opposition. So therefore, consequently, to illustrate results or effects. So let's do the exercises on page 101. Yeah, this is very important. So if you were to see the table, we have how many types? Yeah, 6 different types. Addition, result, reason, opposition, example, and time. So write as many conjunctions as possible on each column, all right? So there are like 4 or 5 more. So you can discuss with your friends, you can, but just try to find as many as possible. Then the caveat is you actually get to use them in your writing. Okay, let's have a look. Addition and more. What?
In addition, furthermore, moreover.
Yes. Moreover, furthermore,
Nevertheless.
nevertheless. Nevertheless is opposition. So we have moreover, furthermore, in addition, also, plus, as well as. Okay, so write down the expressions that you don't have. So moreover, as well as, in addition, also, furthermore, plus. Plus is an adverb. Okay? Result.
Thus.
As a result,
As a result,
thus,
thus, therefore, so, that is why. That is why. So therefore, thus, so, that is why. Okay? So, yeah. Reason.
because of,
Because or because of. Also, as. Another one. Owing to. Owing to. And due to. Okay, so we have because or because of, owing to, as, due to. Write them down, okay, please. Opposition. But,
However, also,
although,
and,
and,
nevertheless,
nevertheless,
neither.
however, while, whereas, albeit, 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 despite, in spite of. So say it again. But, while, however, nevertheless, whereas, albeit, although, despite, in spite of. Just write them down all. Alright? This is important. We're going to do the exercises on these expressions, okay? Example. For instance, for example, in other words, in particular.
in particular,
Yeah. In particular. Or you can say E.G. Alright? For example, is an abbreviation of, for example, E.G. So say it again, E.G. in particular, for instance, for example. Time.
after, before,
Yes, after, before, next. While doing something, while, and subsequently. 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 So say it again: after, before, while, next, subsequently. So what we're doing now is you write down a sentence with each conjunction in the blank page. Alright? So we write down a sentence that includes each conjunction in the blank page. So we're just going to do the exercise and how to use them. Alright? Let's do it now. So I told you all the conjunctions, right? Okay, let's move on. Lina?
Some conjunctions have two more meanings depending on context. Example, while there were risks when they drug, he thought they were minor opposition. While listening to the lecture, she was planning at the same time. The meaning change depends on the sentence, structure, and context.
Alright, there are some conjunctions which have two meanings. You basically have to use them according to different contexts. So the first example is while. So while can use it as to connote opposition or time, and it depends on which context or which background you use. So whenever you read or whenever you write, try to decipher which meaning you actually write on. Okay, another example.
Example, he has been in Washington since Tuesday time. Since she couldn't read Russian, she had the paper translated. Reason, also consider what the conjunction expresses time, cause, or contrast. Reading carefully helps avoid misinterruption in both writing and reading.
Yeah, another example is since. So since can connote time, it means from, or it can actually mean cause and effect or reason. So since equals because. So you can actually use them interchangeably, but you have to decide which context you're using this conjunction since. Okay?
Conjunctions of opposition. Conjunctions of opposition are often the hardest to use correctly. They show contrast or contradiction between two ideas. Example, although while there are frequent strikes, the economy is strong. Despite the frequent strikes, the economy is strong. Note, although and while begin a clause, while in spite of and despite are followed by a noun phrase.
Right, so when you connote the opposition, you can use these conjunctions, although, while, in spite of, despite, but then these two cases differ in that although and while is followed by a clause. Clause means subject plus verb, right? Or if you were to use in spite of or despite, then it's followed by a noun, right? But in spite of and despite, they're exactly the same, but you basically have to be very careful that after despite, you don't use of, okay? So in spite of now, despite now. Okay, the last slide.
Conjunctions of opposition. Contrast can also appear in separate sentences or after a comma. Examples, there are frequent strikes, however, nevertheless, the economy is strong. The economy is strong, but yet there are frequent strikes. Choice of conjunction affects the tone and formality of writing. However, the ends nevertheless are formal, while but and yet are more neutral.
Right, so when you use contrast conjunction, however, nevertheless, make sure that you use comma afterwards. And also, when you use but or yet, you actually use comma before, right? But however, nevertheless, these expressions are more formal than but or yet. So when you use these conjunctions, if you want to be very formal, then you'd better use however or nevertheless. But if you want to be more casual, then you actually use but or yet. Okay, so we have two more exercises. Right, two more exercises to go. Let's move on to 101 page. 101. We have a practice key. So insert a suitable conjunction into each gap. So we have blanks A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Yes, I. So insert suitable conjunction here.